What's up, everybody? It's the ShowMeFootball.com podcast back again to talk Chiefs Chargers. And as everybody knows by now, the Los Angeles Chargers defeated the Kansas City Chiefs by a final score of 38-21. But everyone knows this game didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. The Chiefs already locked up the number one seed in the AFC, and this game didn't matter to them. Like it just they got everything locked up. And this win or loss, actually probably benefits us even more because one, the 15-1 curse is no longer there. We're 14-2. Secondly, Anthony Lynn has momentum of being retained as head coach. And then the Chargers get a worse draft pick. So, this is nothing but a win despite the loss on the scoreboard. So today I am joined by Connor as always. So Connor, actually, hold on. Before I let you speak, I just want to say I didn't catch that much of this game. They didn't even have it on national television in my area. I watched a few minutes on an illegal stream, but that was it. But I'm not sure how much you watched either, Connor. But what are your takeaways from this game?
Well, first off, I missed a decent amount of the game just because I was watching the games that mattered. Like deep down, I was kind of hoping that we would drop the game, to get rid of the 15-1 curse and Anthony Lynn being retained and everything that you just said. But I really didn't care too much either way, so I was watching games that mattered on Red Zone. But I feel like I saw enough. Uh, you know, DeAndre Baker, before his horrific injury, didn't really look fantastic. And Chad Henne has great numbers, but it felt like every pass he threw was a screen pass to Darwin Thompson.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my initial takeaways from the game. Not really too much to be invested in.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go over a couple stats. So on the Chargers side of things, Justin Herbert, you know, he's actually had a really good season. I'm honestly kind of scared if the Chargers can actually put together a good roster and coaching staff around him because he is like legit 302 yards and 3 touchdowns today for him. But for the Chiefs on defense, the Chargers scored 38. There's no sugarcoating the defense, but you had the DeAndre Baker injury, the Willie Gay injury. Colin frickin' Saunders was out there playing outside linebacker, standing straight up. So can't expect too much. Darius Harris, I'm not impressed with him at all. Also, Bo Pete Keys got some run today. And Bo Pete Keys did not look all that great, though he did have 6 tackles. So credit there, I guess. But someone who you saw today why he was a special teams player for a reason. Antonio Hamilton. And Connor, I know Antonio Hamilton's one of your favorite players. So anything anything you want to say about him?
Well, I was hoping that because of DeAndre Baker, we could cut him because he is a horrendous, horrendous corner. He is not good in any sense. And he's one of those players that Chiefs fans just seem to defend for some weird reason. But no, I can't stand Antonio Hamilton. He is who we thought he was, and that's pretty much it. Nothing really to write home when it comes to Antonio Hamilton, except for the fact that we lost DeAndre Baker, and we have seen Bo Peep Keys struggle. So really, the only takeaway is, hey, our corner room isn't as deep as we thought it was a few weeks ago. We were really optimistic about this corner room with uh, the DeAndre Baker signing, but now, I'm really hesitant of it going into the playoffs. I really wish we could have got out of this game without that injury. That one hurts really bad.
Yeah, so circling back to Antonio Hamilton real quick, he's just supposed to be a special teams guy. He's not supposed to be playing corner. And Like he's basically your new Jordan Lucas since Jordan Lucas left. Like Jordan Lucas like was just mainly a special teams guy. Although with Jordan Lucas, I was actually impressed with him at times whenever he was on the field. And Tony Hamilton, not at all, because at the beginning of the year when Snead was out and Breland was out on suspension and all that stuff, like Hamilton got some run and quite frankly, he looked horrible. So yeah, I don't want to see him playing corner. And then you mentioned it with DeAndre Baker. Like that just sucks, man. I was so excited for him. And the big thing with DeAndre Baker was he's supposed to be a big part of the future. He was an awesome snag for us and someone with a lot of potential. You know, a former first round pick in 2019. So that just really hurts, and it was a really bad looking injury. It took me a while to find a video of it, but I did, and the whole lower half of his leg just it was flying around like it wasn't connected to anything. It looked really bad, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be a broken femur according to Andy Reid, which I mean, I'm not sure where that is on the spectrum of like bad injuries to really bad injuries, but um regardless, we won't be seeing DeAndre Baker for a while. That was pretty bad. Although I guess I would rather it be a broken bone than a like a torn ACL or something, but I'm not too sure. But that really sucks because I was really excited for DeAndre Baker. He's someone that I thought was like a upgraded version of Charvarius Ward. So that really sucks. But yeah, I think you're not supposed to take a ton from a Week 17 game where starters were resting, but I think it says it's a little bit telling about the Chiefs' depth on defense when you allow 416 total yards of offense to the Chargers. Although, again, Justin Herbert's really good, and they weren't playing starters in this game against us. But, oh well. I mean, I guess you can't read into it too much. But also, I've seen a handful of Chargers fans saying, "Put respect on Justin Herbert and the Chargers' name after this game." I just knew there was going to be a handful of Chargers fans that somehow would find a way to celebrate a Week 17 game against the Chiefs in which Chad Henne and Darwin Thompson were your stars of the offense.
Yeah. Darwin Thompson, people are going to say he had a great game, and I guess he looked pretty good, but he really didn't look like anything special, which I feel like this is what we've said about literally every running back except for Le'Veon. Like, we're really optimistic about Le'Veon, but every other running back, at least to me, is just kind of meh, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But yeah, I wasn't crazy about Darwin Thompson, and like, okay, cool, he had a good game, but I guess if we need to throw a screen pass in the playoffs, we have our guy.
Yeah, Darwin Thompson, like, I don't. He had a really good game. Like, if I'm being honest, like he did have a good game. He had 45 yards on 14 carries and a touchdown, but where he really made his money is in the receiving game. 7 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown. That was surprising to me because the Chiefs just have not utilized their running backs in the passing game at all this year. And Darwin Thompson has one of the most effective games of a running back this year, receiving wise. That was just really interesting to me. I don't know if that was just because Chad Henne was Mr. Check Down this game, but Darwin Thompson looked really good. So I guess if like Le'Veon Bell were to go down and Clyde's not ready, like I guess you can at least feel comfortable with Darwin Thompson in the rotation. So that's what I take away from this game. But Chad Henne was actually pretty good, 23 of 32 for 218 and 2 touchdowns. And then Byron Pringle, I know you haven't been super high on him. I think I was a little bit higher on him than you, but didn't think he was anything special. He looked impressive, I thought. And I think he's someone that will be in line to get significant snaps, assuming Sammy Watkins doesn't come back and we have a small hole at receiver, and we don't that's assuming we don't add anyone else. But even then, like I feel like Byron Pringle could have a slightly bigger role in this offense next year.
Yeah, I wasn't like anti Byron Pringle.
Yeah.
I didn't hate him as much as I hate Dieter. Like, I still despise Dieter, but uh, once I think it was the Broncos game where Pringle took the kickback to the house.
Yeah.
That's when I guess kind of got on the Garrett. I almost said Derek Jeter. Byron Pringle train. I'm never getting on the Garrett Dieter train. I don't care what he does.
There is no Garrett
But
Dieter train.
yeah, I the way I view Byron Pringle is he's kind of like a good fourth guy and a good return man.
Hmm.
Almost like the Anthony Thomas, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I'd feel comfortable with Byron Pringle as my return man. I'd really like that. I think he's the type of guy who could get lucky and make a Pro Bowl as a returner. But I wouldn't be very happy if he's the number 3 receiver on the team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because, um, uh, Byron Pringle's been solid. You just don't want him as like number 3. I think I'm comfortable with him at number 4, I'd say. But Gary Dieter, since you mentioned him, I just wanted to say I hate how he gets so many opportunities for really no reason at all. Like every time there's a COVID call up at receiver or like if they need a body on special teams, it's always Dieter for some reason. And I don't know why they keep messing around with him. I mean, he doesn't really bring anything to the table. I was really hoping they'd call someone up like Jody Fortson, who I thought has been very impressive back in preseason of last year, and just has he's someone that could be a potential red zone threat of the future. I mean, that dude is massive, and he's not very fast, but again, like he's your stereotypical possession receiver type guy, and I just think he brings more to the table. Even as a special teams player too, like everyone will point to that one fumble in the 2018 AFC Championship and be like, "Oh, but remember when Dieter did that? He picked up that." Like, okay, well, anyone on special teams, all they had to do was just be in place to pick up that fumble. It's not like Dieter actually did anything. Like, if you guys remember, Jody Fortson actually forced a fumble on special teams in preseason against Green Bay last year as well. So like I wish Jody Fortson would get a shot. I really do. I don't understand the Garrett Dieter love.
Well, here's the thing. Looking at Jody Forston, he looks like an absolute monster of a human being. The dude is huge, and he's played well when he's gotten opportunities.
Yeah.
And the thing with Garrett Dieter is he's gotten a lot of opportunities, but he hasn't really done anything with them. He had a catch for 10 yards today. Whoop-de-doo. But answer me this. When has there ever been a tall, lanky, white guy that's been a good receiver? I can't think of any good wide receivers that were both tall, white, and lanky.
Uh, yeah. Now that you mention it, I wouldn't have an answer for that.
And Garrett Dieter's not going to be the first. I can tell you that right now.
I wouldn't even say Gary Dieter is tall or lanky. He's closer to Tyreek Hill in size than he is Jody Fortson, although no one even really comes close to Jody Fortson. But comparing Gary Dieter to Tyreek Hill is super disrespectful to Tyreek Hill. So I hate to be the guy that, well, not really. I hate to be the guy that like hates on all of our players, but like, why does Dieter have a spot on the team? And like I said to you, I've never been more pissed that 2 players from my own team made the Pro Bowl and Frank Clark and Eric Fisher, but that's a whole nother story.
Because they didn't deserve it. The Pro Bowl is a joke.
Yeah. Abolish fan voting. Also, abolish week 17 of the NFL season. Please, can we get rid of it? And because these injuries, man. So let's just talk about the Willie Gay one real quick. So it was kind of scary. Willie Gay came out of the game very early, got rolled up on by Darius Harris. And for a second, I was like, well, damn it, here it is. This is the unlucky week 17 injury that absolutely no one wanted. It was the one guy we couldn't afford to get hurt. Last year, it was Juan Thornhill in the last game of the season. This year, it's Willie Gay, although it sounds like it won't be too serious. Andy Reid said it was a sprained ankle. So ankle definitely better than a knee, in my opinion. So nothing too bad. It sucks that Willie Gay couldn't get a ton of playing time now because he got hurt in this game. This is a good opportunity for him to get up to speed before the playoffs. But also at the same time, like I kind of question why he was playing. Like if you're the Chiefs and there's anyone that you think can be a contributor in the playoffs, then why I just don't understand why you'd even throw them in for even a play. So I feel like that was kind of foolish. And I said that on Twitter and someone was like, dude, then we wouldn't even be able to field the team. And I was like, I literally don't care if we can't field the team. Like this game means nothing. Sure, go ahead, forfeit. Like honestly. But I even said I don't care. Put Deshaun Morton at linebacker, and they kind of did that. They put Colin Saunders at linebacker, which is a similar move to what I suggested. So yeah, like if you have to, like I don't know, put freaking Garrett Dieter at linebacker. I don't care.
Put Frank Clark and Eric Fisher out there. It's not like they're going to contribute anything in the playoffs.
Oh, you're gonna get some hate for that one.
Good. I welcome it.
Also, something I wanted to point out: Yasir Durant played a lot today, and he actually looked pretty good.
I'm happy to see you, Sir Durant.
Yeah, for sure.
I was talking with one of our friends before the game, and I said that I think this starting line, offensive line that we have, is probably our best combination because they replaced Ryder with
Kilgore.
Kilgore. I don't know why I forgot Kilgore for a second. And then you had like Wiley replaced with Wiz. I don't know who was at right tackle, but I know they had Yasir playing left.
Yeah.
But yeah, no Fisher, Ryder, or Wiley. I'm down for it.
Yeah, and something I will point out, the Chiefs pass rush in this game got 3 sacks, which is kind of out of the norm. Tim Ward had one, and he also had 5 tackles. And I didn't know a lot about Tim Ward. He's been on the practice squad for a long time now. Actually looked good today. DeAndre Baker had one of the sacks, and unfortunately he went out. So that's sad. But Alex Okafor had the other one. Alex Okafor's looked good in recent weeks. So much more productive pass rush without Frank Clark, go figure.
Dude, at the start of the broadcast, they're like, well, the Chargers don't have to worry about the game wreckers Chris Jones and Frank Clark up front. When has he ever wrecked the game?
The last time I can honestly say Frank Clark like truly impacted a regular season game was probably that
when he was in Seattle.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that Chargers game in Mexico City. I thought that one Frank Clark had a good game. But besides that, he hasn't stood out too much to me.
Send him to the Canadian Football League. He obviously can't play in America.
Oh, God.
I love how he didn't even play, and this has just turned into us making fun of him again.
I know. Every single time. But you know what? Here's someone we can make fun of. McCole Hardman. So Alex, someone else who writes for our site now on Show Me Football, he wrote up an article this week about 3 players to watch with the starters out, and one of them was McCole Hardman. Like, this is a real opportunity for him to show why we drafted him in the top 100 and everything like that. McCole Hardman had 2 receptions for 25 yards today, and he also had a kick return in which he fumbled the ball and turned it over to the Chargers, which allowed them to score, I believe. Rashad Benton looked way better at kick return. They had him there a couple times today, and he just looked way. It's just like every one that they put back there beside that isn't McCole Hardman seems to be better than McCole Hardman, and it's like so obvious at this point. Also, Rashad Benton, I must note, Andy Reid said his ankles hurt after the game, so that's something to monitor, but hopefully he'll be all right. But the thing with McCole, man, is just he has not shown any sort of improvement. I mean, his speed is the only thing going for him. He has no field vision at all or anything. And I also said this before we started recording, but Herbie Teope, I think that's how you say it, who covers the Chiefs. Whenever McCole fumbled, he was like, Dave Toub won't be happy. I was like, dude, I'm not happy with Dave Toub. Like, does he have so much faith in Hardman going back there?
Oh, yeah. Initially, I was skeptical when I saw Fenton go back to return kicks.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a much better job than Hardman. And I think in the playoffs, that job has to go to Byron Pringle. I think it just has to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what McCole Hardman shows. And, me and you both have gotten into arguments on Twitter about, McCole Hardman's progression and just how we're disappointed. That pick is starting to look like a little bit of an indictment on Veach's drafting. So I have some numbers in front of me here, okay? So McCole Hardman, through his first 2 years in the league, has 1,073 yards and 10 touchdowns. Here are some other players that were drafted after him and their numbers. DK Metcalf, 2,182 yards and 17 touchdowns. Looks like a bona fide star and number one receiver. A.J. Brown has 1,975 yards and 18 touchdowns. And again, looks like a bona fide number one receiver for his team. Deebo Samuel has only 4 touchdowns, but he has 1,193 yards. And I must say, Deebo Samuel's only played 7 games this year and has been out a lot due to injury. And he still has a little bit of a leg up on Hardman. And then Hardman's return numbers this year have been atrocious. So on kick returns, Hardman is averaging 20.4 yards per return. And basically what that means is we're better off taking a touchback more often than we're better off McCole taking it out. McCole just doesn't know when to let it bounce or when to take a fair catch or anything. Punt returns are even worse. McCole is averaging 7.3 yards per punt return. He only has 1 punt return this year of 20 plus yards, and he only has 1 of 40 plus yards, and that was the touchdown against Miami a couple weeks ago. And if you take away that, his average falls almost below 5 yards per punt return.
Oh, but Josh, he would be a number one receiver on every other team. Don't you know?
No, I don't know. I've been told.
Yeah, what a fantastic take. And if you disagree, you're sexist.
Yeah, folks, if you don't know what he's referencing, please just check out Show Me Football Twitter. That's at Show Me FB. We got into a debate with someone who said McCole Hardman would be a number one receiver on any other team, and that's just a strange hill to die on for me. And on top of that, one of the people we were debating was a female, and then the people we were debating with started saying that we're sexist for saying a female was wrong with her football take. So, yeah, welcome to 2021. Anyways, McCole, I just like, it's really frustrating, that whole pick, because I feel like a couple years ago, most Chiefs fans would comfortably say, like, look, the Chiefs have like a top receiving core in the league, right? But with Sammy most likely walking, that leaves McCole as your number 2. And I think most fans would be pretty upset if McCole Hardman became the number 2 receiver next year. And I wouldn't blame them, because I love Tyreek, but he can't carry the load by himself, and injuries happen. If McCole becomes the number 2, I would be kind of worried.
I don't know how credible it is, but I've seen a lot of weird links between the Chiefs and Marvin Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, so I actually wrote about this. I wrote an article about targeting Marvin Jones, and it's really, a lot of fans would be like, "Oh, well, where would the Chiefs get the money from?" So let's say they cut Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz this offseason. That gives them that gives them at least like 14 million right there in cap. And then Alex Okafor as well. If they cut him, that saves them a little bit of money. Sammy Watkins, his 9 million also comes off the books. So like, you get my point that, like, if the Chiefs really want Marvin Jones, like, there's a way. Like, Veach will, he knows all that cap stuff. If he really wanted to, they could definitely add him. So Marvin Jones, he's going to be 31 this offseason. And he signed I believe it was a 5-year, $40 million extension with the Lions back in 2016. That's probably the best he's going to get in his career. I mean, I just don't see a guy who's going to be on the wrong side of 30 and openly says he wants to play for a contender. I don't see how he can expect to get larger than that Lions deal that he first got. So I'd say so he's making about $9 million per year now, somewhere around there, right? So if he wants to play for a contender, like he has said, he said he's looks forward to testing free agent waters. So if I was Veach, I would offer him something like 3 years, 21 million. That pays him about $7 million per year till he's about 34. And he'd actually be an upgrade over Sammy Watkins, in my opinion. He's a little bit more dependable.
The only problem that I think you would look into if you brought in Marvin Jones to replace Sammy Watkins is we've never seen Marvin Jones in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, when we brought in Sammy Watkins, we really hadn't seen much playoff Watkins before.
Yeah.
But I would definitely be down to bring in Marvin Jones. And I don't think it's super unrealistic to say next year our top 3 receivers could be Tyreek, Sammy, and Marvin. but I don't think it's going to happen. But Sammy's happy here. Sammy got his bag. Sammy likes winning championships. Marvin Jones has played for the Lions and the Bengals throughout his career.
Uh-huh.
I think he'd be willing to take a pretty cheap contract to be a number one or to be on a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like, that's the Chiefs Mahomes effect, people like to call it. Like I'm sure there's going to be mutual interest as soon as he hits the market. So that's basically all I have to say about this game, and all that. But so let's just look a little bit ahead. So, oh, my bad. The Chiefs will either play the Colts, Browns, Ravens, or Titans. Which one of those matchups do you think is the most likely? And which one of those matchups would you most like to see, or do you think is favorable for the Chiefs?
I think it's gonna be the Titans, because they kicked the crap out of Baltimore last year. This time it's the same exact matchup except for Baltimore is a worse team, and so I think it's safe to say that it's going to be Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
But as for the team I'd most like to play, I think that Baltimore is uh, we can beat Baltimore, but they're a pretty good team. Indy might give us some fits, kind of like they did last year, but I ultimately think we can beat them pretty easily.
Well, that Indy
I
game
don't really
last
want to play
year
them.
was kind of a fluke just because of how many injuries we had and all that. But also this time around, like I think the Colts might be our most favorable matchup because while they are a well-rounded team, I'm not scared of Phillip Rivers in January, and he's by far the worst starting quarterback out of these teams.
Yeah, but they have a great defense, and that's what concerns me.
Mm-hmm.
DeForest Buckner against Austin Ryder.
Well,
That's
you
kind
know,
of intimidating.
we did see that in the Super Bowl last year, though.
Yeah, and our offensive line was pathetic in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was. I will admit. But yeah, I mean, probably like the Colts or you said Ravens. I think we've owned the Ravens enough. I'd be comfortable playing that game again.
I think we'd kick the crap out of the Browns.
I would like that
I
too.
think the Browns are frauds.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they barely beat what's his name, Mason Rudolph today. So um yeah, that I mean, you just got to hope everyone gets healthy, and really all these games are winnable in the end. I mean, we are the Chiefs after all. You just got to hope we flip that switch, that magical switch everyone talks about.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I have decent faith that it's going to flip on in the divisional round.
Yeah.
I'm not really scared of any of these teams. I could see a couple of them upsetting us, but I'm not like shaking at the thought of playing them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So, we'll definitely make a more or another podcast, depending on who the matchup is, and review it after that goes down. So that'll be fun. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about in this podcast?
Nope, this was by far the most boring game of the year because it literally did not matter at all.
Well, I did want a game where I can just relax and not worry about injuries or losing or anything. And that was what this game was supposed to be. And I still couldn't get it. Be life of a Chiefs fan. I wanted one all year long, and we just didn't get one. So whatever. That's it for this week. Make sure you check out www.showmefootball.com for more. And we'll see you next time. Peace.